Good afternoon, everybody. I propose that we start, as we want to respect the time of all people that are present today. Thank you for being there in our second SPX talks we do in English. So maybe, as it is only the second time, let me first briefly introduce you to the mission of Share Patient Experience again. So we're a non-profit organization, mainly volunteer-based, and we try to spread and raise awareness on the topic of patient experience. So we do this mainly through teaching and sharing experiences. We have our annual colloquium, which will be held in Barcelona in this year in October. The program is about to be released. There is already possibility to register as early bird until the 15th of June. We have our SPX awards, which were granted end of April. Some position papers per year we publish, trainings. We have a knowledge sharing platform. You can find all info on our website. The purpose of the SPX seminars, it is the second one we do. So what's the purpose of it? It's about engaging people around the topic of patient experience. We try to raise awareness and share experiences around those topics. They should give you insightful perspectives without delving too deeply into a specific subject. Just for the format, it takes 20 minutes, and we have a possibility to Q&A at the end to raise a question. So don't hesitate to raise your hand, and then we'll give you the floor at the end of the session, or just drop a question in the chat. Mind that the webinar is recorded, so that it's also available for people that like to look at it on our YouTube channel afterwards. So let me introduce you to our speaker of today. I'm very delighted to be able to introduce Lien Lapiere. She's a highly experienced professional in healthcare quality. She currently serves as a process facilitator in the hospital in Kortrijk. It's in the west of Belgium. It's named AZ Groeningen. It's a general hospital. They deliver top-notch medical care, as it's a large hospital, but Lien will tell more about that. And as I'll already give something in beforehand, they have been accredited by Joint Commission International for 4 times already. There are not a lot of hospitals in the world who can say that. Liene's role is mainly focused on enhancing patient participation at various levels. So she ensures that patients' voices are heard and integrated into the decision-making processes of the hospital. On a personal note, I had the pleasure of working with Lien for several years. And I can really say that her dedication and collaborative spirit are really inspiring. It was also always a joy for me to collaborate with her. So we're fortunate to have her today with us, and that she wants to share her valuable insights and expertise. So please join me in welcoming Lien. Lien, you've got the floor.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for introducing me. So as Tom told, I work at AZ Groeningen as a member of the quality team, and I have been working here since 2010. My main focus is on patient satisfaction and patient participation. I will show you where my hospital is. It's there in the west of Flanders, and in our hospital we have almost all medical specialties. Let me start by telling you something about the history of my hospital. AZ Groeningen is a merger of 4 hospitals. In 2010, we opened a new campus outside the city center. Important milestones included the launch of our integrated electronic health record and our first JCI survey in 2012 and 2013. Another major move followed in 2017, again closing 2 campuses in the city. And in the meanwhile, we are preparing for 2025, the year when the last patient ward will move, and we have our 5th JCI accreditation. So here you can see we had 4 campuses in the city, and they are moving to a site not in the city anymore. Here I have some figures about our hospital. We have about 1,000 beds, about 37,000 admissions per year, 80,000 admissions in our day clinic, and almost 500,000 of consultations. For all these activities, we have around 3,000 employees. In 2016, we began surveying the NPS question, would you recommend our hospital to family and friends? Because of new building, moving out of the city center and the larger scale of our hospital, there was a lot of work to do, as you can see at the start. Then in 2019, we started involving patients in an advisory board. Meanwhile, we do more than involve, we co-create with them. The picture shows patients and staff of our cancer center. On their arm, you can read, "Together we stand stronger with PARC," which is the name of our Cancer Center Patients Advisory Board. As you know, there are different levels of engaging patients. We can engage patients in their own care pathway, such as through the use of patient boards in the room or bedside shift reporting. Or we can engage them to make care better for them, but also for their fellow patients. My presentation is about the second kind of engaging patients. The main technique we use for this is the establishment of patient advisory boards. We say samen beter worden, or getting better together, or improving together. I also work together with my colleagues from AZ Groeningen's Greenhouse, the Innovation Center. The picture shows an example of a collaboration in which an IV drip holder was developed so that this is hidden from the child. We developed this together with our Innovation Center and our Children's Council. Another difference is that advisory boards can operate at the hospital level or at the medical specialty level. At the hospital level, we work with an advisory board to make our hospital as accessible as possible for everyone. We do this together with a broad group of persons with disabilities. We also work with children to further make our hospital as accessible and as child-proof as well. And we also work together with employees of our hospital who themselves have a lot of experience as patients or as caregivers. This is very interesting because they know both sides, hospital procedures, and they also know how it feels to be a patient in the system. At the medical specialty level, we have an advisory board for our cancer center, for our neurology department, and recently we have been recruiting patients for our Council of the Wise, an advisory board for our elderly patients. Within these patient advisory boards, we also have different ways of working together. Not one advisory board is a copy of the others. I will now elaborate on the different ways of collaboration. One possible way of collaboration is in a project. We are currently working around children in our hospital. For this, we have created a project team in our hospital, multidisciplinary, with all functions and departments that come into contact with children both as visitor and as a patient. To get started, we gave our children of the Children's Council a tour of the hospital during several sessions. Then the project team created a vision on how we want to interact with children in our hospital. This was also critically reviewed by the Children's Council. Then both groups independently created a patient journey exercise with various personas and different pathways. From this exercise and all collected input, quick wins and opportunities are now being defined. Because pictures say more than words, I will show you in these images. You can see the visit of the Children's Council to our treehouse, our pediatric ward, and our emergency room. Here you can also see them visiting operating room and recovery. And they got a gift. This is an example of one of our personas, Lisa. Lisa has autism and lives with her parents in Marke, that's a city nearby Kortrijk. She is in special education and she has a pronounced form of autism and she communicates mainly through nonverbal cues and a limited number of words. Also difficult, her parents have difficulty reading. This is also show you some additional information about Lisa. So this is all the information the teams get when we do the patient journey. To illustrate, I also show the exercise we did both with the project team. Here you see the project team, and here you see the children together with their parents. We went through the different pathways in our hospital. Each time we described who the persona meets, what he or she needs at the moment, and what would make the child happy or satisfied. It was striking how children looked at this exercise differently, so their insights were very complementary. For example, they thought a lot more about fear and distractions. We did almost the same exercise a few years ago with our advisory board with patients with different disabilities. As a result of this patient journey, several issues were addressed in our hospital, such as the use of understandable language. This means writing at the level of a 9-year-old and adjusting our font and use of contrast for written text. In addition, together with this advisory board, we organized a training that is now being followed intensively by our employees. An experience-based training where you are immersed in various disabilities. On the video, I will show you an example of some physical disabilities which we had to learn to deal with. And on the right picture, you can see how someone experiences how it feels to see less. The employees also get practical tips and tricks from the persons themselves on how to better cope with a person with different disabilities. Yes, I will share the presentation afterwards. Another way to collaborate is through asking for advice. This can be done either by the patient advisory board or by someone from the hospital. We use different working methods to deal with these requests for advice. This can be done by inviting guest speakers to come and explain something and then get an interaction with the crowd. Or through the technique of a world cafe, something Tom taught me when I was in his team. So we can quickly note many different opinions and ideas and also already summarize and prioritize them. Of course, a brainstorming session can also provide a lot of inspiration. Here you see some pictures of some examples. Something we also try to do, and which I think is really useful, is to collaborate with existing initiatives. We are working together with 2 initiatives that exist from the city of Kortrijk. They have an advisory council for elderly and an advisory council for people with disabilities. So we work closely together. So if I can give you some inspiration, look for what is already existing. Sometimes it's not possible to have an advisory board, and when it's not the best choice to have patients permanently attached to our hospital, we organize a focus group so that during one moment we do a structured interview with patients. And for example, recently we organized a focus group with patients for lung tumors because their situation is not very good. It was better to do one structured interview. Some challenges I can tell you about is the recruitment of new members. So we have patients who are treated. So we always want to have patients who have a recent treatment, but sometimes it's also members who quit, and worst case, sometimes a member dies. Sometimes it's difficult to. We always want to ask for advice, but then we also have to take it into account. So we still have to act upon. Some of the strengths we experience in our patient advisory boards is we always have a content leader for each advisory board. That's someone who works in the department itself, so they have all the knowledge. We also experience that someone who asks a question keeps coming back to ask more questions, so the advice is useful. And it's also nice to see that there is interaction between project teams and an advisory council, so they can ask each other and they can give feedback on what they've been working on. I want to share some lessons learned with you because I work on this topic since 2019 and I have learned a lot. First, we started with a mixed group of patients to give advice on the organization level. This was difficult. We started with an advisory board of 12 patients from different specialties and backgrounds, and it was difficult to do more than discuss general topics such as information brochures, meals, or the parking lot. So I would advise to get different groups with people who are similar. Another thing we tried was an online patient advisory board. We had a Facebook group where patients could subscribe after a visit, but moderation was very difficult. It quickly became a wall of complaints and it required continuous monitoring. There was a little response to questions of advice, and we felt that it was difficult online. It was easy online to hide away. Another thing I have learned, we already tried to have a board of the elderly, board of the wise. We started thinking about it in 2020. Of course, with the corona crisis, it was difficult then, but you have to target younger people so that you have them on board before they starting to getting health issues. So now we target people over 70 and not over 80. Another thing is very important is the recruitment and selection of patients or employees. It's very important to have an intake interview, to have an individual conversation before, and to talk about what is about, but also to see if the patient is emotionally stable and if he can overcome his own situation, because sometimes they use it as a therapy group, and that is not what we do it for. Another thing I have learned is that it is a good thing to have both a process facilitator, because you can learn from the different advisory boards, and an expert who has insights about the content. A last thing I want to share is that you have to place limitations on hospital-wide questions for the advisory board, because all the colleagues in the hospital are very happy that there is an advisory board and they want to check off everything, but it has to be workable for the advisory boards. So I am a bit before time, but are there questions?
Well, Lien, let me first thank you for the inspiring story. It's really something lots of hospitals talk about, to start with patient empowerment and patient advisory boards, but you did it as a hospital, and not only one, but you have different ones, some on general topics that are hospital-wide, some that are really focused on one medical discipline. I think it's really exemplary. Also, the different types of collaboration you illustrated, the things you did with children. I personally love it. Also, the fact that you make some difficult topics, you put them on the table by doing them in a workshop, like children talking about fear, about distractions. That's easier said than done. So congratulations for all the work you did. We have indeed some room for questions. That's a good thing. And I see that there is already a first question of Joep, who has a very interesting question, of course, because in quality we always want to be sure that what we do has impact. So the question of Joep is, how do you measure the impact of your initiatives?
Mm-hmm. It's hard to say, because satisfaction is increasing. Increasing is up, going up, yes. But we are also taking other actions that have effect on this. It's not, you cannot say that it's advisory boards who are responsible for that. But we do notice that individually, for the patients and his loved ones, things do change in the care or in the offer of information. For example, our information is clearer because patients have given their feedback. And for example, within the cancer center, we did a big exercise. We worked together to know what they want for information, which information do they want, at what moment do they want it, and how do they want it. And at their specific request, we do not only give this information digitally now, but also on paper. So it's measurable within the individual perception of the patient. But I do understand the question because I also work on the quality department, but it's not so easy to measure. But we do get a lot of good feedback on this. For example, we did a tasting session with our children's council for the meals, and now we get a lot of good response on the taste of the children's meals.
Yeah, are really good examples, and I think it's indeed difficult to narrow down the impact of the initiatives you take on the domain of patient empowerment towards the global satisfaction of patients in the hospital.
Patients before don't know how the situation was before it was improved. That's also something that's difficult for them to know, but it's improving.
I see another question coming. We have still some time, so I'll take it. It's a question from Lucia. First of all, she congratulates also with your presentation and the great work you've done in Kortrijk in Belgium. So the question is more particularly about how you invite patients to participate or collaborate. So is it usually the same patients who participate? Do they get kind of a job description which highlights the level of commitment that was required from them in the advisory group or other initiatives? Could you give an idea about your experience in that way? So how you participate, how do you invite the patient, recruit them, and what is expected from them?
We recruit them. We always start by asking the physicians to recruit some patients who are critical but also constructive. So not only the complainers, but also the ones who want to think with us and who are in recent treatments. We also have job descriptions and online. For example, now for the cancer center, we are recruiting for some new patients because we exist 5 years and some of the members are already 5-year member. So we want some new experiences. But when the physicians don't get enough patients, we also ask the onco coach. Onco coach is a specific function in our hospital that are nurses who guide the patient through the whole process. And they know the patients very good, so they also know who to talk to. For the children council, we did an oproep, a call on our intranet, and it's all children of people who work in the hospital, because we don't have a lot of children who are for a long period in our hospital because they always go to a university hospital. So we use the experience of the children in our hospital who are already visited our emergency room or day clinic. For the elderly now, we ask our volunteers in the hospital, because a lot of our volunteers are older than 70, and they are the eyes and the ears of our patients in the hospital, so they will help us improve like that. It's always a search specific for the advisory board we try to find people for. Yeah. And the other question is, we don't have specific job description, but we start by making some afspraken, maar even het woord weet.
Some practical agreements. Yes. With
some practical agreements, but we give our patients of the advisory board the statute of a volunteer in our hospital, so they get free parking, not only when they come to visit the advisory board, but always. We provide a meal when it's a session in the evening, or we provide a cake and coffee in the afternoon. We give the children fruit and chips, so they are very happy. They think we always do the meetings with chips and fruit.
Yeah, so that's a really practical advice. That's very useful for all of us to make it a bit more accessible to start with patient advisory boards, because we always think of the difficulty of recruiting patients, but you give some great examples how we can manage that. There's still some questions coming in, so we still have 5 more minutes, so I'll take them if that's okay, Lien. The lifetime of a patient advisory board. So is in the sense that to have representative insights from new and regular patients. So is it people leaving and coming, or how long do people stay in such an advisory board?
Yeah. At first, we thought we said 2 years, but it's difficult because you're building on something, and we decided not to do this so formally. So just to see what happens, and we have always some patients who quit. Like for the children, when they are above 15, we don't see them as children in a hospital. So. Yeah. We're starting now for a group with younger people, 15 to 25, because we see that there's still some gaps for them. For the neurology patients, we are only 1 year at work, so I don't know how this will evolve, but I think don't do it too formally.
Yeah, that's a good advice, indeed. And maybe a last question, that's from Stefan, is there a role for patient associations in what you do? You mentioned the disability group from the city, but there are other links between patient associations and the patient advisory boards you have in the hospital?
Not yet, because we recruit patients who are in the hospital, who had experience in the hospital, and sometimes it's difficult to find someone who is in an association who also has the experience in our hospital. I wouldn't say no to that, but for now it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. Okay, Lien, I think it's time to close. Again, I want to thank you for the insightful takeaways you gave us, very practical and very useful to start with each on our own with patient advisory boards. If there's still more questions, don't hesitate to put them in the chat. I think Lien will be glad to answer them for you. Maybe as we wrap up, I will also want to take the opportunity to announce our next webinar. It's on June 26th at noon, so write it down in your agenda. We'll have someone from UK at that moment, Mark Duman, who is a strong advocate of human-centered healthcare, and he will discuss how he's innovating healthcare through patient experiences and co-creation. So don't miss that exciting event, and if you want more details, you can find them on our website. Also remember to subscribe on our newsletter to stay updated on all things and all developments we do. And if you have missed this session or you want a colleague to talk about it, so it will be available on our YouTube channel starting tomorrow. So thank you once again, everybody, for your participation. It was also great having lots of questions, and we look forward to see you at our future events.